a senior living community that has a partnership with a local winery or a local coffee roaster.
And how much fun was that?
Because one thing I found out is because folks love to drink because you got these lifestyle communities with bars on top of the buildings and stuff.
That doesn't change because you're in your 70s, 80s.
Birthday,
like,
you
I'm
want to
sorry.
go to the rooftop?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the What's the Point podcast. I'm Nate Smith, your host and digital creative director here at Point. And with me, as always, is my esteemed co-host, Raul Espinosa in the corner. Cue the applause.
I'm definitely behind the curtain.
He's off camera today because he's
right
he looks the same as he always does. He's got on different glasses, but yeah. He's over there. He's always looking handsome as usual.
He's like the wizard.
He's like the wizard behind the curtain. He is. He's the one that makes all this happen, you guys. Everything you see online, Raul puts in a ton of work on this podcast, and he does an amazing job.
When the curtain gets unveiled, it's like it's not what you expect. You know?
Don't pay any attention to him.
It's not what you expect at all. Yeah, no, it is.
All right, guys.
We're happy to have you guys as always. I'm really excited today. We have a couple of really wonderful people sitting in with us. Ann Rimkus, our EVP of Strategy and Media here at Point, is with us today, and we're excited to have her. And Sarah Wicks, PR manager at Point, and she's bringing her witty. her wit to the show today, as well as Ann. In this episode, well, first off, how are y'all doing?
Good.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. Good. Yeah. We're gonna keep this snappy and moving.
Okay,
it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a great time.
Good.
So in this episode, What's the Point? This is how many episodes deep are we, Raul? I've lost count.
5.
It's 5? This is the 5th one, right? Or are we 5 deep and this is 6?
No, this is
5.
Yeah,
it's 5.
Wow.
5 episodes already.
Yeah.
Did you ever think?
Yeah, really.
So today we're sitting with you guys. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, we're the Point Group, or better yet, now known as Point. We're a full-service marketing agency here based in Frisco, Texas. Decades of experience in marketing strategy. And Sarah both bring insightful and creative perspective to the importance of working across disciplines to get the most out of that strategy. And it also using a subject that touches all of our lives, or will touch our lives at some point, senior living and senior lifestyle, right? In this episode, we're going to dive into the biggest shift in power since 1950 as baby boomers move into retirement. Whether you're in senior living operations or hospitality or real estate or even consumer marketing, trying to figure out the best bang for your marketing dollar, this session will help you understand the importance of integrating and blending solutions that will raise the bar for marketing investment. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as we all know. And with all the choices consumers have in front of them, the most effective way to engage with your audience is to bring your brand to life with a blend of PR and consumer insights to address the changing dynamics of media advertising, which we're going to get a boatload of today from Ann and Sarah. It's going to be great. You guys are going to have fun. I'll let y'all just give a quick background real quick, because I don't want to read y'all's bios. You can just kind of give us a summation of who you are, where you've been, how you got here, just in brief if you want to. So please.
All right. Well, I'm Ann Rimkus. I have been around for a while in really specializing in media and kind of full circle. Started in a small agency, went to a big agency, moved over to the client side on Marriott, then over to Cadillac, interesting switch, and then back here at a mid-sized agency.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Yes. My name is Sarah Wicks. I've been here at Point for 10 years, which is wild, absolutely wild. And so when I started, I really focused primarily on senior living. So this has been my kind of bread and butter the entire time that I've been here. And then over the years have really gotten the opportunity to kind of dive into other verticals and see how they all integrate together, but specifically in media relations, which coincides really well with what Ann does.
Nice. Yeah. In other words, Ann and Sarah are in their offices with doors closed a lot, so we try not to bother them while they're doing important stuff while we're back here goofing off.
I'm in my cave.
I'll spare y'all my background. You probably know it already. You know Raul's background. We talked about that ad nauseum. So I won't make you listen to all the pain and heartache we've gone through in our journeys. No, I'm kidding. It's it's just fun. So we're not going to waste a lot of time. We're going to dive right into it because this is really important stuff that we're talking about today. And I think something that as we've been talking leading up to this episode, we talked quite a bit about how do we touch on senior lifestyle from the perspective of the things we do to engage with audiences whose lives this has already touched, this part of their lives, like those with aging parents, those who are moving into this part of their life, versus the things we do to reach those people, right? And how we take our strategic approach, holistic approach, and sort of give that umbrella over top of senior lifestyle as a whole to bring that message to consumers, right? And what we'll find out today is it doesn't differ all that much, but it is a slightly altered approach for the way you have to reach these people versus how you'd reach someone if you just had a product to sell. Right.
It has to be a very human approach.
Yeah. So, and we can jump right in. So, question number 1. Senior living has changed a lot just in the last 5 years, much like everything else, right? The world is moving at a rapid pace and it's ever evolving. Are marketing strategies keeping up with how fast things are moving, especially in this space?
Yeah. I think it's interesting because the senior living industry is probably one of the deepest ones hit by COVID. What we saw was, first of all, coming out of crisis, was this whole digital marketing sphere just trajectoried forward in terms of getting these guys up to speed in how they consume media, how they look for things. And I think what we saw, we've been working together for 10 years now, and it was a shift in how people thought through where they should be online, but more importantly, what they should say and what they should do. And I think that's really the crux of what we want to talk about today, because everyone's going to be touched by senior living at some point. It's either a parent, a grandparent, sometime it's going to be us. And we should really shape what we want senior living to look like and sound like, as opposed to just having it been done for us, So I think that's the important thing.
Well, and I think circling back to your question, Nate, how it's keeping up is almost in some ways reactionary. It's having to maintain, what today's seniors are expecting as they go into the marketplace. These are folks that they are, in their 60s, 70s, and they already did this, walking through it with their own parents. And so they have expectations of what they want their own experience to look like. And to some degree, the market really hasn't quite kept up with that in the last 5 years, just because it's having to move so quickly. And so it's interesting to see just how much it's shifted, and even in how we respond to that.
Well, our job is to keep it human too. I think that's the main thing. You can't do a lot of that when you just focus on the numbers game.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, we talked a lot about that just over the last couple of days, is saying, when you go to speak to someone and you're trying to hit them with messaging that's going to resonate with them, this part of life is a very human thing. It's a very human thing that's going to, as we stated in the intro, is going to touch all of us at some point in time. Save for those who maybe, are, called to that end a bit earlier than usual. But at the same time, most people, I would say, probably are going to end up facing this at some point in time. I mean, I've, even me personally, I've watched, we talked about trying to get into just and interesting anecdotes from our own personal lives. And Sarah, you were mentioning that you had watched your parents go through it with your grandparents. I did the same. And so it's interesting watching my mother and my dad as well, who also is remarried, but has an aging, his wife's mother is aging out as well. But she lives at home. It's a little bit different scenario, but still the same human element. We say aspirational, or I think it's more so just someone being able to inject themselves into it and going,
absolutely,
I know how that feels, and I need to know what it is that I need to be prepared for. Yeah.
Well, and being prepared and understanding that these individuals are also not just doing it on their own. They have siblings that are involved in the decision-making process, and there are a lot of other factors that people don't necessarily take into account. And so you really do have to keep it human at the end of the day, even when it gets more tactical.
Yeah. So that's actually a really good segue. Thanks, Sarah, for that. You're doing my job for me. You should probably just take over. But so we talked a little bit about that. So now let's talk about, well, since we know those things, since senior living marketing is not what it used to be, what strategies and tactics are working right now that we've seen from things that we've done, but then also just things that you guys have seen out in the space? What is working for this style of marketing at this moment in time?
I think that what people will talk about is performance marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the buzzword.
Yeah.
It's overused and overrated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that, I mean, we should always be performing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think we always have been. It's just now it has a label. And I think that we've gotten too close to what's the CPM, what's the cost per acquisition, what's the cost per conversion. These are human beings that are making a decision that is going to affect the rest of their life. And you can't convey that in a digital ad. And I think I see our marketers getting too much involved with what's the ROI, when really what we need to be doing is creating a destination that seniors want to live in, that seniors want to experience.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks true to your side too.
Right. And from the PR side, when you're looking at senior living, it's all about the stories. It's all about the people. It's not only what, Ann and the marketing side is doing and positioning the, actual amenities and lifestyle that a community provides, but it's also highlighting the people that live and work there, showcasing, what their stories are and why it's so important to tell. Really working with the communities to get those stories out of them, whether it is highlighting, and I've had the opportunity to talk to folks that, they served on D-Day, they were on the beaches of Normandy, that, are continuing to serve and volunteer in their local communities at food shelters or going to NICU units and holding babies and when their parents can't. And, just having those kinds of stories of what those people are, that's also a huge factor in being able to drive.
That humanizes.
Why these communities are so valuable for seniors that are entering into the market. It provides them a level of community and relationship that they wouldn't be getting elsewhere.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that, Sarah, from a community perspective. Recently, we have a client that we work with who we went and shot we interviewed some people and did they did a Parkinson's event because they work with several agencies in Dallas from the medical perspective that help with some of their Parkinson's programs. And not that Parkinson's is strictly, it doesn't strictly adhere to seniors, but in this particular case it did. And there were some really affecting stories that were told.
Yeah.
Some people, they showed some folks from DAPS and the Parkinson's Voice Project showed some video of some of the stuff that they do and how it affects people's lives. And it's really touching to know that, man, this could touch anybody at any given time, but to know you have that kind of support from people who understand and care can make all the difference. Here's the next question though, because as marketers, we still have KPIs that we have to hit,
right.
and
Right.
people still get pressure from the client side, and that pressure kind of rolls downhill. But we work with them in partnership to try to come up with the best solution possible, trying to balance the two things we're talking
That's
about.
exactly
How do we tell
Exactly.
the most human story, but still hit some of our goals, right?
Right.
It's never perfect. It's never an exact science either. It takes a lot of testing. But what are some things that y'all see? So again, when it comes to like, will this generate leads? What are some of the barriers when it comes to proving out marketing ROI in this space, and how do you fix it? What are the things that we've done? Shameless plug. What are the things that we've done or tried to do to try to bring innovative solutions to the table to try to get the results that these people are looking for?
Well, I think the biggest barrier we face with our marketers is something I call marketing complacency. It's almost like a lazy way of rinse and repeat. If it worked 10 years ago, it's going to work today. And, I only want to be in this publication, or I only want to do this one thing. The only events that work are those that we feed people. And I think that, it's important for us to have empathy with our clients who are saying this, but it's our job to bring forth out of the box creative thinking. How do you do that in such a way that this younger generation of seniors that is coming up, they've got way more expectations. They've been CEOs. They've been in charge of things, and telling them that bingo is going to be their highlight at 7:00 at night is not going to work for them.
It probably wouldn't be at 7:00, and it would probably be at like 4:30.
But I think it's important for us to continue to, the same kind of creative that we see in advertising can be in how we go to market.
Right.
Creative ideas, generating those out of the box thinking opportunities, I think is important. And the biggest barrier that we're seeing is convincing our clients to think about it, you know, and to do it. Again, it's not lead generation. How am I going to get leads out of it? How much is that going to cost me? I know that's important, and I'm not saying it's not. I just think that we have to really think about these guys as humans and giving them something that they're going to really want to live in.
Right. It's getting them in the door, and it's building that level of awareness. You know, one of the biggest issues with PR, and I can say that having done this long enough, is, you know, from a tangibility component, it is a much harder KPI to track. You know, how do you measure what someone's thought on your business or your product is? It's really difficult to do. And so you have to find creative ways to, you know, make getting them to the point where they're hearing about the amenities and the lifestyle actually realistic. You know, one of my favorite opportunities that we've gotten to do, one of our clients over the years has done some speaking events with, you know, celebrities, both on the national and, you know, local scale, which is always fun. And this particular event focused around Henry Winkler.
Yay.
He doesn't like that.
I know he doesn't.
That's not his go-to.
Of course he doesn't. It's like asking Harrison Ford about Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, it's a terrible mistake.
It's actually funny. I saw a recent article that said, it was talking about how, and he brought it up, so this is, you know, whatever, but he was talking about, I think his wife's, like, son, like, when they first got married, was making Fonz references, and he had to, like, correct his adopted child. Like, please do not call me the Fonz. So it's funny that even comes up. All that to say, we were doing this event with the client, and, you know, it is kind of the typical lead generation focused event. How are you going to get media to be interested in this? You know, we want some value out of it. So we came up with a really interesting concept. You know, Henry Winkler is very involved in the arts and continued learning and promoting things that are, you know, challenging for you as you continue to age at all ages. And that's something that all of our senior living clients find very valuable and believe extremely strongly in. And so we actually partnered with one of the local high schools that brought in their drama department. They came into the community about an hour and a half before the event, and they spent time with Henry Winkler, talking to him, hearing from him directly about why it was so important to be in the arts. Residents had the option that they could come in and sit in too, but it was really targeted to get those kids in, have that opportunity. And then he spoke at the event afterwards. While that necessarily didn't have a whole lot to do with the community, it got the reporter in the door. It got also the teachers that are adult children that will have parents who had never been at the community before. It got them in the door. And so, you know, it created traction and opportunity that built awareness. And then we had a really great media article and story that came from it, where this reporter talked about Henry Winkler comes into local senior living community, you know, speaks with local high school students about the importance of their craft and what they're doing. And then he gave a talk to seniors on the importance of continuing to reinvent yourself as you age,
and to not let yourself
to not let yourself get old. To continue honing your craft. It really transitioned well into each other, and so it's finding opportunities like that really give us the chance to provide that tangibility of return on investment.
And that wasn't easy. You know, it wasn't easy to sort of think that through. What would have been easy is if we just continued to do the same thing.
Right.
But thinking about that and finding him, convincing him to come and do it, finding the teacher, convincing them to come and do it, it takes work.
Well, and let me say, to be fair to ourselves, in a pre-COVID environment, you know, we have worked with our clients in this particular one for years on doing these types of events. In a pre-COVID environment, we did not have an issue getting media to come in and cover, Henry Winkler speaks at local senior living community. Yeah. And it didn't matter if it was in LA or if it was in, you know, Tyler, Texas, in a really small community. the media was interested because there was a celebrity that was in town and wanted to talk and had something to say. That's changed. You were having to, not only are there fewer reporters and the landscape of the media has changed, you're also competing with everyone else who is trying to also come up with the most creative opportunity.
And then it becomes a price game. And that's one of the things that we keep telling our clients is that it doesn't have to be about what is your rate, what is your rent. It can be about why would I want to live here, and we just keep our clients focused on that.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, because we talk about, Sarah, you mentioned yesterday when we were talking through this in our pre-pro, was that, there was a couple of things we talked about, is that as you get older, you don't just, number one, you don't just lose interest in the things you've been interested in your whole life. So you have to continue to evolve. And that's what's beautiful about a guy like Henry Winkler talking to art students and drama students about maintaining that as you go through your life. And I'm sure that even the parents that were there, that came with their kids who were in the drama course, or anybody else who was there, probably gleaned from that too.
It resonates.
But I think also, like, it's a great segue into the sort of the next piece of this, which is bringing innovative ideas into the fold. Like, as we talk about, like, we always say to people that we're an integrated shop, right? Like, we're a one-stop shop. We do a number of things really well. Not a lot of shops can say that now, because you have more these niche shops. And this is another shameless plug. So pardon the cheerleading, but I'm a fan of what we do. But I think that I'm always wondering how does, when we look at the way we do, how does that smart integrated marketing actually cut through the noise in a crowded marketplace through bringing innovative ideas, like reaching out to somebody for a partnership like this, where historically it hasn't really been done in this space, right? They've been kind of underserved in that way, but to bring that kind of attention to the fold, because again, it's not just like, we're not putting anybody out to pasture.
Right.
We're trying to be mindful of those. We talked to Dr. Latif from InterHealth recently about we need to have programs that care about these people's interests and what they really want to do in this part of their lives.
So they don't become invisible.
Exactly. So it's twofold, right? It's us understanding that from an empathetic standpoint, but then also doing things and bringing ways to market into the fold that will help people understand that and then drive them that direction as well.
I think that the most important thing we can do is to always ask questions. Be curious, right? So I'm a firm believer in research.
Yeah.
Sarah will attest to this. And I think it's really important that we understand, what do our current seniors want? How does that differ from the seniors that are living in these communities, and what's coming down the pipeline? And one of the things that came out of this research most recently is that an opportunity, you think about it, when you work in hospitality and in healthcare and in technology, you have like a lot of different industries to pull from. And we started looking at, what are they doing that we could bring into the senior living space? And that was partnerships. Not, let's partner with the Alzheimer's Foundation or the Parkinson's Foundation. That's important. Or Center for Brain Health. Those are very important from a healthcare standpoint. But we're talking about really fun partnerships, like with the Smithsonian or, with a local winery or a brewery. And these seniors...
Or a coffee roaster.
And these seniors light up because they get to be part of the process. They got to choose the flavor of coffee that was going to be in the senior living community. And they were part of the process. This really did become their home. And I think those kinds of partnerships gives, from our marketing strategy standpoint, Sarah's always looking for, give me something that I can work with that's newsworthy. That was much more newsworthy than... Okay, well, we're opening this community.
Doing things that you expect.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and then I think that's a really good point. It's different.
Yeah.
I mean, not to sound cliche, but, the Alzheimer's Association, Center for Brain Health, those are pretty standard across the board
those things you
for
would expect
senior
to be the
living
case.
communities. That's
memory
normal.
care, things like that.
Given.
Yeah.
But, a senior living community that has a partnership with a local winery or a local coffee roaster.
And how much fun it was
Because
that?
one thing I
the
found out is
Smithsonian-
because folks love to drink, because you got these lifestyle communities with bars on top of the
And
buildings
that
and stuff.
doesn't
It's like, listen,
change
man,
because you're
I know.
in your
Exactly.
70s,
On your
80s.
birthday, you
Like,
stop
hey, hon, you
drinking.
want
I'm
to go
sorry.
to the rooftop?
Yeah, not to be too spicy, but some of the stories about these communities, you're like,
Hey, listen.
oh goodness.
Yeah.
People,
It's,
that it doesn't matter.
eye-opening for sure.
Yes. It doesn't matter if you're 80 years old or if you're 25.
You don't stop living.
People want to have fun and live their lives.
It's your golden years. You're supposed to.
Yeah, exactly.
And exactly. You've earned it.
And you need to act like that.
Yes.
Right?
It's funny. So when I first started working in senior living, I always joked going to some of these communities, coming straight out of college, that it was like going to a frat house. Like, it's like being at the college dorms again. You have the opportunity to live with your friends and the people that you enjoy and have a good time, and go to the Smithsonian for our those clients in the DC area. Go out,
Smithsonian.
go to fun dinners. It's a chance to live your life. That's used to, you would hear senior living communities say, this is like a cruise ship that never leaves port.
Right.
That sounds horrible. That sounds absolutely horrible. Like, I'm sorry. I want to still have the ability to leave and to go do.
Of course.
And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for experiences.
They don't want to feel trapped.
They don't want to feel trapped.
They want to be able to walk to places that make sense. They want to invite their friends who are not living in a senior living community to come visit. So these are all things that we've got to be thinking about, and then we've got to move forward. Again, we have the opportunity to reshape.
So that's actually another really good side. These segues are really nice.
I think we had practiced this or something.
So I know
we didn't
talked about
practice.
Yeah. So what do you think the biggest mistake marketers are making? What are the biggest mistakes marketers are making right now in this space? Because we do a lot of competitive analysis and a lot of diligence and for other shops.
Okay. I'm going to go with templated marketing. Yeah. My goodness.
I think that's the biggest
the
mistake a lot of people are making.
Same photos are being used in everything. From the brochure. It's the same guy, but now he's with like a different lady.
It's the gray bearded guy with the sunglasses and the suit. Yeah.
He's a very handsome man.
Very handsome fellow. Yes.
But we have to get away from this. We have to step outside and not be afraid to step
He's probably
outside.
involved in some of those stories, I bet.
Oh, I'm sure.
It probably is. I mean, this is the thing, though. It's like if we continue to do the same thing over and over and over, we're going to get the same results. Yeah. And it's going to all still look the same when we get old and need to go into a senior living community. I don't want that for them.
We're going to look at it and go, are they still using this guy's photo?
Oh, my God, that'd be so funny.
Well, and even from a PR perspective and the stories that you're seeing pitched, like the ones that are hitting the media that are the most interesting are, seniors at a community that have started a TikTok account or, seniors who, if a couple meets and falls in love at their community, and highlighting those stories, those are the unique things are what's kind of tracking. The things that used to get picked up all the time don't. I always make the joke, and I want to be very clear, our veterans are fantastic, wonderful people, but Veterans Day every year is always the hardest. Everyone wants to do a veteran story, which is fantastic. Yeah. But to try to pitch it, compete with it is very difficult.
So along those same lines, I just want to say, you take that idea of celebrating our veterans and you do it in a different way. You start doing portraits of American heroes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And now you do it all year long, not just on one day.
Right.
And that gets picked
it's not just highlighting. Our community has a ceremony to celebrate our veterans. It's like Ann said, here are portraits. Here's hitting the different, observances for the different branches throughout the year. It's finding those little nuggets to make it a bigger story.
It's redefining what is news. I mean, even if you think about it from a traditional perspective, and Sarah, we want to talk about this, even when you watch the news, there's always some kind of human story in the mix, right? Why do you think Humans Have Been Wild on Instagram is so popular? Because people want things they can relate to or things to feel good about. It's like I see more comments on social about why am I in bed at 10:30 at night crying at strangers? Because it's something we can relate to. Yeah. And it's not just the obligatory Happy Veterans Day. It's kind of like remember the campaign we did for I don't know if what I'm allowed to say, but for one client we did this Friends Found campaign where people in the community had lost their spouses, but they found solace in each other. Yeah. And it was such a beautiful story. And even sitting there listening to them tell how they met and why they met, the circumstances around it, it was very touching. And it's something that at some point, God forbid, losing somebody's bad enough, but having somebody there to lean on can make all the difference. And those are the kinds of things we want to try to get at. Those are things that journalists will pick up.
Right. Well, and it's
it's more than just the journalist picking it up. I think it's also, does it resonate with a senior who is on the cusp of moving, or an adult child who's on the cusp of making that decision?
Making those decisions.
And doing something fun. I just saw the other day, a Salt Lake a senior living community that was doing grandmom talk. And it was literally taking the Mormon wives' TikToks and turning it into their own.
That's funny.
And it is viral right now. So I think that's just another example of dare to be different.
Dare to be different, and don't be afraid to show the humanity. That's what ultimately is going to be your lead generator. People are tired of doom scrolling.
They are.
People don't want to get on, and they don't want to see negativity, and they don't necessarily want to be sold something. They want to be inspired.
Yeah.
And yes. I think that is the
passion and
ultimately the goal. And I think where senior living really is going is it's understanding that these newer generations have expectations to continue living life, and they want to do so in a way that is really positive.
Yeah. It's changing perceptions too. It's bringing another viewpoint of it to the forefront.
Isn't that what advertising's all about?
It is. Yeah, that's what we strive for every day. So, man, y'all, this has been great. This is such an important topic, and so many things that we could talk about this for ages. I think there's a lot that we could cover. But this last question's a doozy. What should senior living marketers be looking for in an agency that truly can make an impact outside of all the other things we've talked about today? There are a few other things. What are some final thoughts y'all have for anybody that's looking to make an impact in this space?
If I was a marketing director, or if I was in charge of marketing for a senior living group, the first question I would ask is, when was the last time we did research? When was the last time we had a brainstorm? And what are our residents telling us that they like, and how is our agency being different enough? We work with all kinds of in-house marketing teams. The first thing that people say was, I just do everything in-house. Guess what? Somebody can come to the table and bring you some ideas. You guys can execute it in-house, but we can add to the team by being that partner. Yep. So I think I would be asking some pretty tough questions.
Yeah. And I think it would definitely also be an openness to, kind of bouncing off of Ann a little bit, what are we doing well and what are we not doing well? We've worked with a client recently that, to be candid, their marketing efforts are wonderful. They do a fantastic job at what they do with their in-house team and have been doing so for a very long time. But it's not working anymore. It's that rinse and repeat templated approach. And so they've stepped up to the plate and they said, we have to change. And so it's that openness to get an outside perspective. But also, I think, again, tying it back to, and you say this a lot, Nate, it's people like to work with people that they like. Right, it's finding people that, one, are willing to challenge you, but two, also people that have a passion for what you do. And especially for senior living, it's having that caring and human component to it. I'll never forget first being hired, the lovely ladies who hired me, shout out Amy Jones, Beth Wilbins. They both asked me, they were like, well, do you have a relationship with your grandparents? What are your thoughts on working with seniors? I had no idea. I was 23 years old coming out of college. And I was like, well, I have a great relationship with my grandparents. I'd love to sit down and hear their stories and talk. And, all that to say, when it came time, that component of my life translated into the work that I did. It was that human element of working with those with residents and the community teams. And so that's a big part of it too.
It really is.
Yeah. Another little anecdote, interesting about you talking about your relationship with your grandparents. Every time I'm cutting a video or I'm looking through pieces of footage, and there's something compelling that's been said, and there's a lot of it that's very touching, tear up almost every time,
I know,
almost every single
same.
time while I'm working through it, because it makes me think of my grandparents,
Yeah.
right? It makes
Right.
me think about the whole of the lives that they lived, right? And the things that they told me about and things that I didn't get a chance to hear from them. And you think about that stuff and you're kind of all of a sudden faced with your mortality.
Right.
And it really kind of hits you. It's like, man, I really need to live life so that I can share with those that are going to come after me, and in hopes that maybe it helps them in some form or fashion, or just touches them in some way and inspires them for their future ahead.
You know, I think the other thing too is that we need to never stop reinventing. Like Henry Winkler said,
Yeah.
bring it back full circle. If we stop, then it's always going to be the same. And I feel like every single senior living community, senior living company is different. And when you think about it, the humans that live inside of it are also
They're all very different.
And we need to come to the table with a different approach, you know, reshaping and rethinking the way that we go for senior living marketing.
Wow. This is great stuff, y'all. This is really
It's fun.
wonderful.
We love it.
It's such a human thing, and to be able to talk about it, not only with the lens of what we try to bring to it, but just as people.
As people.
And that's really the key to all this is empathy and caring. Like you said, Sarah, it's kind of like a teacher or a nurse. It takes us, you always say, like, it takes a special kind of person.
Yeah.
It really
You gotta
does.
have a calling.
Because listen, it's not, if you look at it in the scope of marketing, I just want to say this really quickly. If you look at it in the scope of marketing or advertising, somebody could look at this and go, well, it's not the sexiest thing.
And it's not.
But
One of the most human things.
But it is one of the most human things. And it, to me, anything that can affect the human spirit will always outlive whatever the flash in the pan
Yeah.
stuff is.
Absolutely.
Right? And usually products are very flash in the pan things. They're only for a time. But something like this is
It's for
eternal.
a lifetime.
It's forever. Right?
Yeah.
Well,
So we love what we do.
We do. And I think to be fair, you know, it doesn't just apply to senior living. It applies across the board for all of our clients that we work with,
Yeah.
regardless of the vertical. You know,
The approach.
the approach and the tenacity, you know, for each one is the same. You have to find the human component to it to really actually make it special. You know, why does this apply to me?
Agree.
that was beautiful. Ann and Sarah, thank y'all so much for joining
Thanks
us.
for
This
having
has been
us.
really
It's
awesome,
been
y'all. I
fun.
mean, look at this, y'all. You
Very
you'll
rarely
just
that
get
I-
this everywhere.
It's very rarely that I would get on camera, so
Yeah, you guys are very
Same.
fortunate to get both of them on camera. I have to drag Ann out of her office to get her to take a picture. But we want to thank y'all for being on today
Thank
and talking
you.
with us about this important topic. So you guys, you know where we're at. Don't forget, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, smash that like and subscribe button and catch us in the comments. Talk about this. Is this something you're facing? Is this something that your parents are currently facing? Where are you at this stage of your life? We'd love to hear from you. And to all you marketers out there, if you need any additional assistance with some of what you got going on, we're always down to partner, even if it's just sitting down over coffee to talk about this stuff.
Yep.
As you can see, we love to talk about it. So hit us up. You know where to find us at The Point Group. For Nate, for Raul Espinosa, this is
You're
Nate
Nate.
Smith. What's the Point Podcast? We'll catch you guys next time. See ya.